Hello everyone and welcome to blaugranaeverything and welcome back to the channel and welcome back from a bit of a hiatus that we took, just kind of like Barcelona did take a bit of a hiatus because we haven't seen them play or at least kick a ball in front of cameras and a packed out stadium since that 1-0 win against Mallorca. And man, what a way to come back in the Champions League away at PSG, and Barcelona finally win their first away game in the Champions League knockout stages since I can't even remember when. Probably since about 2016 or 2015, somewhere there. It's been that long. And of course, the victory came courtesy of 2 goals from Raphinha as well as a late winner by Christensen, all those coming kind of next to and in between goals from Ousmane Dembélé and Vitinha, who scored back-to-back. Yes, of course, Dembélé just had to come back and haunt FC Barcelona. Of course, 3-2 win for Barca doesn't necessarily mean that they're already clear and through into the semi-finals, but damn, it's a good start, especially since they won away from home for the first time in a long while. Yeah, so this is the match review, and like we usually do with the match reviews, I'm going to take you through the negatives and positives from the performance before then talking about the team rating, manager rating, and picking the man of the match. So if this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is a growing community. We're hoping to hit 10k subs soon, So if you're new here, please hit like on the video and hit subscribe too, okay? Go ahead and do all of that nice stuff. Anywho, let's get started by looking at negatives and positives. And of course, we'll start with negatives. And the first negative has to be that slow start Barcelona had to that second half. Because guess what? This could have been a match that Barca could have won by more than 1 goal, let's put it that way. Or let's at least say that Barcelona could have at least avoided conceding those 2 quick goals after the halftime break. Dembele and Vitinha did score just like within 5 or 6 minutes of the return from the break. So it wasn't very good from Barcelona. It was a poor start to the second half, and those kinds of slow starts, 2 halves, they were slowish a bit in the first half as well. Could have, they took a bit longer than they should have, maybe to establish a pattern in that game, to establish a foothold in that game. And well, once again, that happened in the second half as well. And I have to say that not good, guys. We need to work on that. The second of my negatives is probably just like, I would say the nerves in the defense. Now, like 2 of our defenders today, I thought were very outstanding, whilst the other 2 I felt kind of succumbed a little bit to nerves, and I don't know what else to say to describe it. Well, I mean, João Cancelo just generally isn't going to be like, a 10 out of 10 or even an 8 out of 10 when it comes to defending. So, you don't want him to be in those situations where he has to defend, especially 1v1. And that happened quite a lot today. So I guess it's not really a surprise that he came up short. And as a result as well, I think we saw Kubarsi probably have his worst performance since maybe about Villarreal. And it's not necessarily that he was terrible or he was really bad, but it's because he had to deal with the fact that João Cancelo wasn't there most of the time, and PSG were really hitting Barcelona very well in those transitions, to be honest. They could have maybe scored a couple more goals from those situations, if not for a man who was just completely outstanding today. We'll get to talking about him later on. But enough of those negatives, let's go ahead and talk positives. And I think the first positive has to be kind of being clinical with our chances, because like, let's be honest, before Raphinha scored his first goal to open the scoring of the game, Barcelona could have easily had 2 other goals. I mean, Raphinha himself had kind of a chance when he was played through, and Donnarumma came way off his line, and I was just thinking like, Raphinha, he could have just chipped it over Donnarumma rather than going through his legs with it. But that didn't result in a goal. Then of course there was the goal line clearance from the Lewandowski header. So that was like 2 good chances from which Barca could have scored from. And generally in the first half, Barcelona were the team that had the better chances And, if not, maybe for even like, an unfit Frankie de Jong, maybe being in this team and, those kinds of things going on, maybe Barca could have even, kept a clean sheet here. I'm just saying. I know it sounds like a crazy thing to say, but yeah, the defending today wasn't catastrophic. It was just lacking in critical moments, which led to both goals. But generally speaking, the defending wasn't that bad. And that's probably the next positive. Anyway, it's always hard to do this because I did say two of the defenders had a great game, whilst the other two didn't. The two defenders who did have a great game, in case you haven't put it together by now, was Jules Koundé and Ronald Araujo. Now, I'm not saying that Kylian Mbappe has been pocketed and that he was kept silent and that we don't have to worry about him. But I am saying that the reason why Kylian Mbappe didn't get on the score sheet has a lot to do with how well Jules Koundé and Ronald Araujo were playing today. In fact, Araujo in particular deserves quite a lot of credit because he made quite a few blocks that prevented possibly goal scoring opportunities, not even possibly goal scoring. Those were goal scoring opportunities, okay? There was one on Mbappe, there was one on Fabian Ruiz, and there was also one on Bradley Barcola. And any of those shots could have easily found the back of the net if they were not blocked so masterfully by Araujo. He just has that instinct and always reads just, with perfection when to come in for that block. So, shout out to him and to Jules Koundé. And my third and final positive here has to be those substitutes, because how about those subs? Like, honestly speaking, Pedri comes on as a substitute and literally with his first touch, he assists Raphinha's goal, which was the equalizer to make it 2-2. Then Christensen and Ferran Torres come on as substitutes, and Ferran Torres' first action is to force a corner kick from which Christensen scores with his first touch of the game. You cannot script these things, and I have to say credit to the substitutes and the man who, of course, threw them on as well. That was, I thought, some pretty good substituting by Xavi. His substitutes were all timed well, and even though I felt some of them were wrong, I can remember I was thinking, why is he bringing on Pedri and not Firmino? Why is he bringing on Ferran and not leaving Raphinha for the rest of the game? I did have those questions. And well, they all proved me wrong. I didn't think Pedri was fit enough, but he clearly was. And Ferran as well, he played his part, like I said, in that Christensen goal that came from a corner. Anywho, moving on from that, let's quickly talk the match ratings. And we'll start with the players here, the team rating, should I put it that way? And I went with a 7 out of 10. I know it's a bit harsh, but that's mostly because, up front, there was a bit of a passenger in Lewandowski. And in midfield as well, Gundogan did disappear quite a bit. Frankie de Jong as well looked off the pace. And then, of course, like I said, Cancelo and Kubarsi did not look comfortable. So because of that, I think overall it drags the team rating to a 7 out of 10, even though I felt like ultimately they still came together well as a unit to secure the win here for Barcelona. And as for the manager rating, I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10. And it's simply because when you make two subs and both of those subs immediately come on and lead to a goal being scored, how's that not an 8 out of 10? And also, of course, his setup was pretty much spot on. Like, his starting 11, the team he selected, was spot on, as like I said, were his substitutions. Anywho, we can move on from all of that now and finally talk man of the match. And I'm pretty sure you can guess, and you get no prizes for guessing because it's obvious. It was Raphinha. It was one of maybe his best ever performances in the Champions League for Barca. I stand to be corrected, but I do not remember any other night where Raphinha looked this inevitable for Barca. He was on the end of almost every goal scoring opportunity that Barcelona had. And, rightfully he got his brace and he got his nice little Champions League Man of the Match award as well. So, big ups to him, and hopefully we can keep this up going into the next leg as well, and just, let's get back in the semi-finals, guys. We need to be back in the semi-finals. It'll be so big, not just for this season, but also for next season, but just generally for the entire club. It'll be a huge lift. Alrighty guys, that is basically that from me. Let me know your thoughts if you had any on the game. But aside from that, I thank you all for tuning in. Do have a great day, and Forza Barça.